Cognitions Speaking the Unspeakable with JP and Stacy D. Stacy D.
Hi.
Hey, Stacy D. Okay, I messed that up. I am JP Craddock, and that is the one and only Stacy D. Love. Yes, we are broadcasting remotely here on KUAW Radio. And also,
they sure did hear you say, "Ooh, I missed that." So everybody knows.
Well, because you know I keep it real.
Live drive.
I keep it real. I'm not gonna hide it. I'm gonna tell the truth. All right. Coming up on the show today, we have our question of the day, which is: isn't it safer to allow my teenager to drink and smoke at home so that they don't recklessly do it outside of the home? If you all have any comments on that, you can send us your comments through the Facebook page.
I'm watching the Facebook ad.
Oh, this is great. And also through YouTube, which Mr. Walker is tracking those comments. You can also call into the show if you want to comment on that. 816-599-6893 is the number to call in. Once again, 816-599-6893. This is a good question, so I can't wait till we get to this because this has been an issue for years, way before marijuana was legalized in various states.
Halfway legal.
Yes. So we're going to get to that. First, let's check in with Stacy D. Stacy D, how are you doing?
How's the D? Great. I'm doing great. Still not sleeping. Like, I can't believe. Y'all see any bags on my eyes? I didn't go to bed till like 7 o'clock this morning. Was up at 9:30.
Something must be. Is this connected to you having been sick? The potassium thing?
I think I'm allergic to potassiums because my face is breaking out. I couldn't even do my makeup or nothing because my face is breaking out. I'm really not sleeping. And guess what the doctor did?
What?
He told me to take 2 sleeping pills because the one didn't make me go to sleep. Now you're trying to make me be a drug addict. Everybody know, I don't even smoke cigarettes, drink a cocktail, a wine cooler. I don't do nothing.
These are prescription sleep meds?
That's how they get you.
So I take it you decided not to take 2 meds.
He said I can take up to 3.
Did you try melatonin?
It doesn't work.
Really?
And the one pill was working really, really well. And it had me sleeping like 10 hours. And now, I don't know, do my body sets up a good, help me with the word, I forgot the word.
I'm like stunned on 10 hours. I ain't had 10 hours of sleep since 1987.
But guess what? I might be up for 4 days. And I'll take it and it had me sleep for like 10 hours.
10
like
hours?
King come up in there. Was she breathing?
Mm-hmm. B&B, bed and breathing. We have to check the kids in the residential treatment
only
facility.
do about 5 hours a day. And I'm able to really function. And believe it or not, I feel really, really energized for some reason. I haven't did anything but get my protein shake, drink my water.
Wow. Well, Stacy D, you got to get some rest. Because a lack of sleep, lack of rest can age a person. And see, Stacy D.
And everybody know, honey, I'm still looking fly. Like I'm in my 30s, so don't do it.
The D is still looking good. So
I'm going to have to take like 3 of them then.
You can't afford to not be getting sleep. Okay. Now you're going
but I believe it or not, I got a lot of work caught up on. I did a lot of work. A lot.
Because you up. Yes.
I was wired.
Well, let me tell you, I also have not been getting much sleep. I don't know, it might be partly my fault. Nadine had went out of town, so it was just me and Sashi Poo. Now, we don't do a whole lot of sleeping in this house. We up late in this house, okay? And So I took off during this time. I wasn't doing any sessions. I was only doing paperwork around her schedule. So we were up late. And so I began to panic when it got close to time for Nadine to come back because Sashi's sleep pattern was way off.
Okay, time out. I have a response from our listeners. LaDonna Courtright.
What's LaDonna? What LaDonna?
Tolerance was the word I was looking for. My body will must have built up a tolerance for it.
Oh, you talking about med tolerance to the meds?
Yes, I think so.
Thanks,
the
LaDonna.
sleeping pill didn't do nothing, and it used to just knock me out. So yes, thank you, LaDonna. Has built up a tolerance for it. She also says potassium is very important. In addition to insomnia, it causes heart. Oh.
Yeah. Which
I know it caused the heart problems. That's why they have me taking the potassium now. Oh yeah, LaDonna, I found that out how important potassium was when I called 911.
Both you and a friend of ours ended up in the hospital feeling like y'all were having a heart attack. I thought that the potassium just gives the feeling of a heart attack, kind of like how a panic attack does. But from what LaDonna is saying, it actually negatively affects the heart if you have a lack of potassium.
Yes, that's what my doctor told me. That's why I'm on 6 potassium pills. And you know, I only take 1 pill, and that was my singular.
You done became one of them old women with the box of pills.
And they're gonna be all vitamins. Okay, listen, he put me on a prenatal vitamin, an iron vitamin, a stool softener, because you know what the iron do.
But why are you on a prenatal vitamin?
Because it has so much good vitamins in there, because you're taking vitamins for 2.
I finna say, I know you ain't planning on getting knocked up.
Guess what? I told the doctor, I'm like, hell, I didn't even take these when I was pregnant. He said, yeah, that might be some of the problem. Because basically he's telling me I'm vitamin deficient. So I'm taking the potassium, iron, the prenatal. So I'm taking 3 pills now.
Since you're taking them prenatal vitamins, you might need to have a talk with your hubby. Y'all might need to go on and kick out a baby. You know, Janet Jackson kicked out a baby at 50.
So do you want my baby, Gerald? If that happens,
then I already got a baby up in here. You gonna hear a baby
to play with. She needs somebody to play with.
No, she don't.
My youngest grandchild is 10. We don't do that ghetto babyism. Did I make up a new word? Babe, the ghetto babyism. We don't do that.
You just made up a word, and let me tell you, that word can end up in the dictionary, because last week, I'm gonna come back to what I was talking about, but last week, y'all was added to the dictionary. Why? With the exclamation ALL, which is the hyphenation for you all. I was shocked. I thought that y'all had already added y'all to the dictionary. I didn't know this was not a word. Do you know how long I've been using y'all?
Y'all
better ask somebody. I've been using this word a long
time.
And I typically do not use made up words.
That was probably one you heard from Mama.
My mama didn't play that made up word mess.
Well, guess what? She did play it, because she was like, if y'all don't get y'all butts up in there, clean my kitchen up.
Let me tell you, how is it that y'all is just now being added to the dictionary as a real word? This should have been a real word a long time ago. So, what'd you say, Stacy D? We're gonna get this into the dictionary. If enough people start using babyism, which means making babies.
Babyism. Ain't no baby gonna be up in hism.
Stacy D, the key to getting a word added to the dictionary is enough people have to use it. You've made this word complicated.
Okay, listen, everybody 45 and under, you be like, get that babyism from me, because we ain't trying to have no babies. Get that babyism from me.
Yeah, young people might actually pick up on this word. Our classmates and friends are like, that don't apply to us.
They'll be like, what the hell is Stacy D talking about? There she go again.
Listen to this. A friend of mine, we was hanging out, me and some of my frat brothers, and one of my frat brothers, he's in his, life partner, she's an AK. And she was saying to me, speaking of old folks making babies, she was saying, listen, you caused both of us to get
Hey guys, guess what? I'm wondering, how is Sasha gonna be when she get 15 and Gerald's like around 65? Okay, I'm gonna tell you about Nadine.
63, 64.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you about Nadine. Because Gerald has been a therapist forever. And we used to do, I don't like calling them bad kids, but we were tag
ruffians.
On the ruffians.
Babies that was rough around their edges.
Yeah. And we was a tag team on bam, 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 bam. Structure. We're going to get this together. Honey child, let me tell y'all something about JP. Sasha runs him.
You don't know no kid run me. I'm hardcore, Stacy D.
Sasha Payne runs JP. Point blank.
Don't tell him.
Period. So I'm wondering how she's gonna be at 15 and he's 63. So basically, what she gonna do is what's gonna end up happening, and I don't like speaking this into the help me out
into the universe. Don't put this out in the universe.
Too much potassium and not enough sleep. She gonna say, because Nadine be on her. She don't try Nadine.
She do, yeah.
She gonna be like, Dad, I think it's time for us to divorce, Mama. And he gonna be like, really, baby? You think so, Shasha Boo Boo? Yeah, baby. Come on, let's go and make this happen. Okay, baby. But I really do love Nadine. Daddy, you don't need her. You got me. Don't worry about it.
Listen, I can admit and accept a small amount of responsibility. I have softened a little bit in my older age from when we was seeing kids who was rough around their edges. I still don't put up with no mess, Stacy. Y'all think Sashi Boo gonna be running something up in here? Let me tell y'all and
Can
Sashi
we go
something.
back to your story about you guys?
I run this. Tonight?
Can we go back to you and Sasha home alone and y'all not sleeping? Because I don't sleep now. And I calls at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, and the diva's up. And they're fine until JP starts talking to me, and she gets all up in her feels. Daddy, get up off the phone. This is me and you time. Okay, D, I'm going to call you back. We'll talk about it early in the morning because I'm going to get up at 7 o'clock while Sasha's still asleep. So we can talk, okay? I'll be like, this ninja.
She parties.
I'll be like, all right, then, dog.
She parties all night. Her sleep pattern got so far off. At one point, don't tell Nadine this, okay? Because she ain't watching this show. We was up till 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I got nervous.
One of my numbers?
Yes. I got nervous because I was like, oh, Lord, this woman's coming back to town. And if this baby stay up till 6 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be hot water for me. So I immediately went into panic mode and tried to get the baby sleep pattern back on track. And so the next day, I kept her up without a nap. Sashi Boo fell asleep. at around, it was before midnight, which for this baby, that's very early. She fell asleep probably around 11 something, but it backfired.
She
That
was up
baby
early in
woke
the morning.
that baby woke up about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and was like wide awake. Like, ooh, let's kick it.
Because now
And you
she ready to
know,
cook and everything.
when she went to sleep, I was like, ooh, I get like 3-4 hours of work done. So I stayed up and worked. I had only been asleep 2-3 hours when this baby woke up, okay? And like jumped on my head like, Daddy, let's kick it.
Mm-hmm.
So
What did you do?
I almost started crying. I was so tired. I almost started crying. I woke up and I eventually put her back to sleep. And so now her sleep pattern is still off, not to that extreme, but she is up all hours. And I'm talking, it's a nightmare. Okay, it's a nightmare. But I'm trying to pull it back together. But she ain't up till 6 in the morning, because let me tell you, you would have been able to hear Nadine screaming from your house if that baby was up till 6, because she has to work at 8. She ain't playing them silly games with me.
You and Sasha would have left and went for a drive. She already get on y'all about 1 o'clock.
Right. Okay, Stacy D.
What's up, JP?
Let's get to mental health and illness in the news. And we just touched on this a little bit. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Stacy D, about how many hours do you work a week?
How many hours in a week?
Right. Because
my daddy told me you can sleep when you're dead.
My mama told me that. We clearly should never have been told that.
Mm-mm.
That was not appropriate parenting, because we have carried that all these years. I immediately will think to myself, I sleep when I'm dead. Well, listen to this, because this is something that people who are not self-employed don't realize. They think that us self-employed people have it so easy. Y'all self-employed, y'all set your own schedule.
It's not for everybody.
Self-employed people work like crazy, because as self-employed people, we don't have the 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 boundaries. We literally, if we think about something, we immediately start working.
I keep a pad by my on my nightstand, because I might wake up in the middle of the night and think of a business venture or how to, because I own 5 businesses.
See?
I'm sorry, with my husband, we own 7 businesses.
There you go.
I mean, and I do most of all the back end work.
Yes. And I can completely run my practice, as well as everything for this radio show, everything through the phone. And we have our phones with us constantly. And working from home exacerbated this whole problem. Self-employed people working from home, you can be sitting in your family room watching something and get a thought and just roll into your office and immediately start working. And so that's something that people don't realize. Self-employed people are way over 40 hours a week. Way over.
Over 80.
Right. Well, the World Health Organization has stated that working more than 55 hours a week increases one's risk of stroke and heart disease.
The low potassium, the work that made my potassium go down.
This is a contributing factor. Really, a combination of your low potassium, the stress of running all the businesses, because you don't have an administrative assistant, which you clearly tripping.
I'm hiring one in October. That's my birthday present.
Okay. Because I have hired and fired dang near a dozen administrative assistants. They are a must. I need to hire another one. But anybody listening to the show?
Don't nobody want to work.
Like that is the problem.
Like
The
they don't want to work like we work. We have great work ethics. Great work.
And my problem with administrative assistants is I allow them to set their own schedule. I just send them the work and I'm like, set your own schedule and do it when you feel like it. And I allow them to determine their own payday. Like when you be I'm sending you your money. And I figured that this flexibility would make it easier to work for me. But the reason why I keep having to fire them is allowing them to set their own work schedule. These fools was getting way behind on my billing.
And we are cheese.
I have had assistants get so far behind on the billing that by the time they got around to it, it was too late and the insurance company denied claims. That's how far behind they have gotten.
I would have burnt their house down.
I wanted to. I've had them.
Money. Don't mess with my kids, my money, and my husband.
There you go.
Problems.
I have had them, clients calling in because I have a waiting list because I have such a high amount of volume of new clients come in. This has always been the case. I've had administrative assistants that'll take a week to call somebody back to schedule their appointment. By then, they have complained to the insurance company, and the insurance company is like, why are we referring people to you who you're not returning their calls, you're not trying to get them scheduled? And so I'm glad you're hiring one. It's going to help with your health. I need to hire another one. Any listeners out there who are in the KC metro area, okay? Me and Stacy D are looking for assistance. Send us your information. Please be willing to work, though. Be willing to work.
If you work with my money, hey, I don't mind letting everybody eat off the table. We can all eat great. But you got to make the table right for me, though.
A bad assistant will cost you. I've lost thousands of dollars from assistants screwing things up. And so here's something else to note in this whole thing. Yes. Now listen to this. These some rough stats. In 2016, 745,000 people died, with men accounting for 72% of those deaths. Most were aged in their 60s and 70s upon death, but worked long hours between the ages of 45 and 74. And so basically, older folks can't be working all these hours. If you over 45, if you between the age of 45 and 74, you cannot be working more than 55 hours a week. Now, I am not saying that those of you who are under the age of 45 should be doing this either, because young people have heart attacks also. But they are just noting that, Stacy D, what's wrong? Could you frowning?
No, because I've been working 3 jobs forever.
Before the age of 45, were you working more than 55 hours a week? Of course, all of us were.
I still got 15 more years in me.
Well, no, that's not what this means.
If I get this potassium together, I got about 15 more years in me.
You need to stop working over 55 hours a week because you over the age of 45.
Oh, are we telling ages now? Is that what we're doing now?
Well, Stacy D, you already said your youngest grandbaby is 10. Now our listeners have assumed that you at least 45.
We just let them keep assuming.
And you already confessed to working over 55 hours a week. You was in the hospital with heart palpitations due to your low potassium and working over 55 hours a week. I think I know
why my potassium was low. I told y'all I know why my potassium was low.
Why?
I'm trying to lose this weight for Cancun. I done bought all these two little bikinis. Now I gotta get them.
That is a motivator.
Or I'm not gonna have nothing to wear and can't go.
If you can't get in them, do the best you can. Just be aware something might bust out.
I can't get the bottoms on at all.
Oh, that's a problem. You not hitting the beach without those bottoms. Now the nude beaches, from what I have heard, because I ain't been on them yet, the nude beaches are a lot of fun. But I got a feeling your husband ain't playing these games.
It's a girls' trip.
Oh, this is girls. You about to say what he don't know ain't gonna hurt him. You about to say what happens there stays there. Don't say these things.
I'm not gonna do anything anyway. Everybody knows I'm so in love with King. Okay, we need to move it on. Move it on. It's 2:30.
All right. I have one last piece to this. There is one last contributing factor before we move on to another piece of mental health and illness in the news, because our question of the day is not going to take much time. Another contributor is maladaptive coping skills, such as using alcohol and cigarettes and other, other illicit drugs to cope. That's another contributing factor on top of the excessive work schedule. And so, to our listeners, this is a wonderful time. The pandemic, I think, was a wonderful time for people to quit smoking, because you were at home, and it's better to quit smoking at home than at work, and half your coworkers are going on those smoke breaks. Remember when we worked at the mental health center and all the smokers would gather in the back of the building, huddled up and smoking and shivering? Well,
working coming down.
Yes, snow, rain, it didn't matter. Well, for those who are still working at home, please seize this opportunity to quit smoking. I'm not judging smokers. I'm just saying this will be a good time to quit smoking, reduce your work hours, increase your potassium, get more sleep, all these things that if you don't do, they're going to kill you. All these things can kill you. Okay. Mental health illness in the news, the next story. Stacy D, the tent cities are back. The tent cities are back. Remember, here in the Kansas City area, all of our homeless people were housed in hotels to eliminate the problem of tent city, because we had never had
everybody.
What?
They didn't get everybody.
What do you mean?
I still was seeing them right there on downtown KCMO.
You shouldn't have been, because the city spent millions of dollars housing people in hotels. 400 homeless people were housed in hotels at the beginning of the program, and this cost millions of dollars. And at the time that the program ended, there was 270 people left in the hotel, but the mayor says that the program was a success because 50 people found jobs and 220 people received medical care. The problem, though, is now that they kicked everybody out of these hotels, the tent cities are back in Westport, and the area that they were really having a problem with was the tent cities downtown around the federal building, because the homeless people was urinating in the vents and they could smell it in the government buildings. That'll make you house homeless people in a hotel. Will you smell pee all day? Ooh, can we please house the homeless people in a hotel?
I must speak on that. I'm glad that they were able to put the homeless people in hotels, but I don't think that they gave them enough tools to really cope. And they should have called a head of services. And I would have came down there with my case management skills, and I think it would have been a better success. Not so many tent cities.
Well, you might need to just show up in one of these tent cities and start providing services. Right by my office, there's tent city, And I'm talking big, I told y'all big tents, 2-3 bedroom
Maybe we need to
tents.
write up a proposal, JP.
There are so many homeless people who
I'm
are
gonna have
still
to
in need of
call old
services.
Quentin.
You need to call.
I have his number. I'm
Yes.
gonna call old Quentin. Be like,
Call
hey,
the mayor. Call the mayor.
are you gonna tag team with me, JP?
Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay,
I'm
let's do
willing,
it.
I'm willing to help out in any way possible. But if people were thinking that this was going to eliminate the problem of tent cities in the Kansas City metropolitan area, and it's mainly Kansas City, Missouri, it's not Kansas City, Kansas, it didn't work. Tent cities are back. And Westport is so close to the plaza, which is one of the wealthiest areas of the city, that rich folks on the plaza are not happy. They like, do something. Well, y'all rich people pay for them to go back into the hotels. All right.
I don't think that's a fix. I think that's a Band-Aid.
Well, while they are in the hotels, they should be getting
services.
They should be getting services. They should be getting, healthcare services and education, working on GEDs and treatment for substance addictions and job readiness skills.
Trying to get into public housing, getting a payee. Once again, that's a head of services. We have a payee company.
Well,
it's getting those type of things, getting them on disability, and it's just a lot.
Absolutely. And the mayor is saying they're still working on these programs, and they are working even more diligently now because the 10 cities sprouted back up. All right.
And they have some nice tents.
People think I'm joking when I say 2 or 3 bedroom tents down there.
No,
okay.
Really
I'm talking tent condos.
That was some good tents. So I don't know what's Cabela donating tents, or I'm gonna tell you, one time I had a guy, he called me for a bond, and he was like, I got all the money. I said, you got all the money? He's like, I got all the money. I don't have no cosigner. I went down there, got his property.
What do you mean?
He had the money.
Okay.
At the gym. He had the money to bond his own self out. He just didn't have anyone to get his property and to pay it. And I did that for a small fee.
Okay.
He had money.
Okay. Remember we covered Capitol rioters and the one particular Capitol rioter who, okay, this isn't an update on him necessarily, but the first sentencing has been handed down to a Capitol rioter. His name is Paul Hodgkins, 38-year-old from Tampa, and he received an 8-month sentence. He will be in jail for 8 months for his participation in the riot. He could have gotten up to 20 years. And of course, now he is a felon because it was a felony. The judge stated, and I quote, although you were only one member of a larger mob, you actively participated in a larger event that threatened the Capitol and democracy itself. That's U.S. District Court Judge Rudolph Moss of Washington, D.C. Now, mind you, his attorney described him as, quote, a law-abiding, hard-working, honest, caring, kind, thoughtful, generous.
Good adjectives.
The kind of person you would want as a neighbor. Rioting.
No, I don't want him as a neighbor.
If this fool end up in my neighborhood, the homeowners association is truly slipping because he's a rioter. What's interesting to note about this is they did say this was the guy, if you remember from the footage, that was just walking around with the flag, and he was only in the chambers for a short amount of time. So the message they are sending is to the rest of you fools, if we gave him 8 months in jail and a felony, we coming after y'all and y'all gonna fry. And I like that. I like the idea.
I like that. I really do like that.
One last story from mental health and illness in the news. 95% of those being hospitalized with COVID are unvaccinated people or people who are not fully vaccinated. They started the vaccination process, got one shot, and was like, I think I'm good. No one vaccinated has died. So for those of you who are vaccinated, your chances of dying of COVID at this time is 0%.
I don't
Here,
believe it's 0%, JP.
this came from CNN.
CNN in the Bible?
CNN is a valid, legitimate news source. CNN, 95% of the people hospitalized are unvaccinated. That's something to note.
So guess what? 5% did get vaccinated. And
yes.
they got a shot.
Yes. Here's what is scary. More than 23,000 children were diagnosed with COVID last week alone. And that's according to the American
They're not even in
Journal
school.
of
What are
Pediatrics.
they doing?
I don't know, but they are suggesting, because initially they were saying young kids didn't need to wear a mask. At this point, they're saying, look, if your kid is 2 and above, you might want to slap a mask on your kid because you're taking your kid out in public, and the Delta variant is much more contagious. It spreads much faster. Just sharing airspace with a person can contract this. And so going out and going shopping and all the adults have their mask on and the baby in the stroller with no mask, you're gonna have to wrestle with that baby and put a mask on that baby. And so anybody in the KC metro area who sees me in public in the middle of an all-out fit tantrum, it is because I'm trying to keep a mask on my Sashi boo. And she gonna wreck shop up in the store. The only thing she's willing to wear is her sunglasses. My baby love her sunglasses. She put her shades on. She's like, what's up? What we doing? I come at her with the mask. She's like, hold up. What you doing? So I'm prepared for the embarrassment because it's gonna happen. All right, Stacy D. Those grandbabies, they need to be wearing masks.
Oh, they do.
Oh, great. Okay, question of the day. Isn't it safer to allow my teenager to drink and smoke at home so that they don't recklessly do it outside of the home? This really was a modern parenting segment question, but I was thinking, let me see if the D is okay with bumping this up to our QOD, because this is an age-old question. I remember when I was a teenager, people who started off smoking weed and drinking with their parents. This has been going on for a while. So the motivation behind it, and a family member of mine, this is what she said, is, well, I would rather her get high here at home where we safe here at home. I can be sure that her weed isn't laced with anything. And that way our agreement, and she promised me that she would not get high outside of this house with her friends. Wow. I've created a safe get high environment for my baby. Now,
no, she can get hotline, especially if she's under 18.
If I wouldn't have been a teenager, I'd have hotline this heifer. Okay, this is a dumb family member. And what I knew at the time is that the amount of time that this teenage family member smoked at home with her, it probably lasted 2 weeks, and she immediately started getting high with her friends wherever they was getting high. This doesn't work. It's actually stupid. Once anything a person enjoys, if you introduce a person to something within the home and they enjoy it, whether it's taking a couple of shots or smoking a fat one, it is unrealistic to expect that the adolescent brain And remember, we did a whole show. Y'all might want to check that show out about the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until the age of 25. The adolescent, scientifically, the adolescent brain does not function in a manner where they are only going to smoke at home with you. Their brain is in a stage of development of invincibility. And they don't do well at weighing out right from wrong and this and that. They feel invincible. They gonna start off getting high at home with you, and then they gonna get high anywhere they can get high. That's my take on it. Stacy, what is your take on this?
JP, I agree with you. And I actually went and asked a couple people, whenever we do the QRD, I like to get other standpoints on people and a couple people. And yesterday I asked one of my friends, he has a teenage daughter, she's 17. And that's how he feels. And I had to apologize because, I get raw. And I'm gonna tell you, it's so funny. Check this out. Which they say when I walk in a room, I commands respect. We all sitting at the dining room table. Mm-hmm. She got her little puffer.
Mm-mm. Oh, she's able to get high in the presence of company?
I didn't say nothing. I just sit there and I just looked at her. Guess what she did? Got up and went on the patio. I just think it's a level of respect. And, and everyone say, oh, these kids are new. They new breeds. They do. And that might be true. But the old school standards and the way things and the way I was brought up and the way you was brought up, JP.
Right.
Hey, guess what? I'm going to tell you something. I had 4 kids and we couldn't even get free lunch. So
couldn't even get free lunch.
4 kids. So
and them lunch bills be high.
But when I got a whiff of that my child was getting high, if that's what you want to do, those are your choices. You know how old you are, because I really believe in doing choices and natural consequences. Guess what his natural consequence was?
What?
He didn't get any more lunch money. Go get a job. I worked too hard for mine to give to the dope man.
Right.
Take your peanut butter and jelly home.
And
you don't have no gas money for your car.
Because if you got money to get high, I don't need to give you money anymore.
He was taking my money, with.
See, and you can't be supporting somebody else's drug use.
I cut it out.
That was a very good natural consequence, because, like indirectly, you had been paying for him to be able to get high. You had to shut that mess down.
Shut it down.
I am shocked that this young lady was willing to sit there and get high in the presence of company. Like, because parents who do this usually say, listen, this is a secret because I don't want to get hotline. Because technically this is child abuse. Don't tell nobody. He forgot that part. She's sitting there getting high.
Weed should be legal anyway. But guess what? Cigarettes is legal. And they can't smoke cigarettes till how old?
Right. So even if it was legal here in this state, that don't mean she's able to smoke weed.
Exactly. I told you when I left, I had to apologize because, sometimes I come off. But I didn't have to say nothing to her. She went to the patio and then left the patio and went downstairs.
Well, let me tell you.
Auntie Stacy wasn't going for that.
No.
You doing
And
good.
it simply does not work. To parents out there who you are practicing this, we understand what your intentions are. Your intentions are to create a safer environment. You do not want your kid to, end up, out and about and smoking something and end up it's laced
You
and they
know
have
what,
a bad trip.
JP,
What
you know
they
what I think that goes with? I just think I think it's with education. So I'm not giving you the permission to do it, but I don't want you to be dumb and ignorant to it. I'm gonna
right.
give you your tools. Like,
Yes.
mind you, I don't know anything about it, but my mom, she gave my children a talk. She's like, because your mama don't know nothing about this. So sit here, because I'm gonna let you know. Um, if you, well, that was weird. I turned everything off. It was like, if you do not see it getting rolled up or something, don't smoke it. But she said a little catchphrase with it. But it's the same thing. As parents, we teach our children, do not put nothing in that socket.
Hmm. Right.
That's how I look at it. Do not cross the street without looking both ways.
Right.
So you giving them tools,
Right. And
but
so,
give, but I don't want you doing it.
right.
But if that's what you choose to do, I don't
Well,
want to
and
see it. I don't want to smell it, and I'm not paying for it.
so that is the intention and the mindset of parents who are like, I'm gonna let my kids smoke at home. But it simply does not work. You are lying to yourself if you are telling yourself that your kids are only going to get high or drink, drinking is included, in the confines of the home where you can supervise them and make sure that it is safe. They are not going to be out prom night with all they peeps, and they peeps is firing up because high kids hang out with other kids who get high. Okay, high people hang out with each other, and just like drinkers hang out with each other.
Wait
And
a minute, I hang out with
there's no
everybody.
way,
I hang out with
huh?
everybody. I hangs out with everybody and kicks it.
Okay.
So there
Well,
is
but you
some.
weren't a smoker. If you were a kid who had been allowed to smoke at home and you were hanging out with your
My mom wasn't
friends
going for that.
Friday night after the game, you remember we used to go to the game and then hang out Friday night after the game at the McDonald's. If as a smoker who had been smoking at home, what do you think of the chances that when your friends start firing up that you were going to be like, I only get to smoke at home with my mama? It's ridiculous. In fact, back to the adolescent stage of development, adolescents are in a stage where acceptance among their peers is very important, and being alienated and
Maslow.
ostracized is like a social crisis for them. They are not, when they friends start passing around the weed, they are not gonna be like, oh, nah, I only get to smoke with my mama. Exclude me, please. It's not happening. And so, regardless of what your intentions are, let's be realistic about the stage of development, the adolescent stage of development. This does not work. Their brain is
They
not
getting high
engineered for
with
this to work.
everybody. They getting high at home and everywhere else.
They gonna get high with anybody. And here's something to think about, because I remember as a teenager, oh, let me be careful. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how can I tell this, because I did get in trouble for keeping it too real on the show, and someone called me and said, you need to keep it real without including my business on the show.
Kids tell me
Here's what
that
I'll
every
say.
day. They
Here's
tell
how
me
I'm gonna
that
tell the
every
story.
Thursday. And
Well,
she gonna whoop you.
I'm gonna protect someone's confidentiality. When I was a teenager, I had a family member who was married to an alcoholic. And this alcoholic, who became an alcoholic. Not that I'm excusing the behavior of alcoholism, I'm not, but they had experienced the death of a child. And so she turned to the church and he turned to the bottle.
To the bottle.
And he was drinking. He started off a regular drinker, drinking, E&J. But when alcoholism, when the ball got rolling, he ended up drinking like Wild Eyes Rose, which is $2 a bottle. You can get a half pint. Anytime wine is sold in a half pint bottle, you're not a drinker. You don't realize how utterly ridiculous this is. Wine is not sold in half pints, and then regular wine bottles. Wild Eyes Rose, on the other hand, you can buy a half pint of that back in the day for 50 cents. It's probably only 75 cents today. Oh, yes. And so...
How much does Wild Eyes Rose cost?
And he called it the grapes, right? And he would drink the grapes, and he would take me and my younger sister out with him. This is actually a horror story. And if my mother would have found out, she probably would have shot him.
She didn't play.
But when he would be driving around the city with us in the car as kids, drinking the grapes.
With no seatbelts, because they weren't tripping on seatbelts back then.
With no seatbelts. He would give us the grapes. And so we would...
JP. He had
actually, yes.
He
actually, yes. This was my first exposure to drinking, and we would get drunk with him on the grapes.
On the grapes.
And then when we would get back home, we would have to hide from my mother to prevent him from getting shot. Because my mama wasn't no joke, and she did not play when it came to her kids, okay? And one of her favorite lines was, "I will blow somebody's brains out." I heard my mama said that at least on a monthly basis. And so we would hide from...
when y'all would come in the house, so when you would come in the house, what would y'all do?
Go to bed!
Go to bed.
Go to bed. Plus, we was teenagers drunk off the grapes.
That's still what JP does when he gets food.
Okay, first thing, but one, JP has not been drunk since October 5th of 2012.
Your wedding night?
The bachelor party night.
Well, you were still messed up from the wedding. They had to help you walk straight.
I didn't get to drink at the wedding.
You didn't need to.
We had that. This is off the subject a little bit. For everybody listening, okay, my wife gave me the most incredible wedding gift. It was a huge ice sculpture of a Sphinx head, because I'm an alpha and we love a Sphinx head, and it was huge, and it had liquor flowing out. Everybody was tipsy at the wedding but me,
but me.
You end up leaving, Stacy B. You wasn't there.
I had a $50,000 bond.
Okay, so you wasn't there. Everybody, because we had a magnificent wedding, everybody ended up tipsy at the wedding. Our wedding planner had us, okay, we got to go here and take this picture, and we got to go here. The wedding planner hustled us around throughout the whole wedding reception. I didn't get to get tipsy off booze flowing from my ice sculpture. Neither here nor there. Back in the day, this adult family member, now he didn't even bother telling us, "Now I only want y'all to drink with me. Don't y'all be drinking with your friends."
He already gave y'all the grapes.
He already gave us the grapes. And let me tell you, once you start drinking, if you are around, and I didn't have, interestingly, my friends in high school didn't get high. I didn't have friends who got high, and only had a few friends who drank, but I had already been drinking the grapes. I had been introduced to the grapes. So the notion of only drinking with him while he was driving around drunk with us in the car was ridiculous. Like,
In a big old Cadillac or Buick made of steel.
he was in a straight hoop with the grapes. He had succumbed to alcoholism so bad that when my family member ended up separating from him and she ended up divorcing him because of alcoholism, he went to live with some aunts of mine. And when they went out, these are some aunts who had lots of flower bins and flower gardens around their property and all of that. They went out to check on all these flowers and everything to pull weeds. And guess what they ended up pulling? Wine bottles, the grapes.
It was Wild Irish Rose.
It was called Wild Irish Rose. They probably still sell this crap, okay? It's probably still $2 a bottle. And when my aunt went out to pull weeds and came back with a trash bag full of wine bottles, because he had told her he quit drinking, which was why she allowed him to stay with her. She called herself gonna save him from alcoholism. Okay. He kept drinking and hiding wine bottles all around her property, and he would still pick up me and my sister and take us driving around the city and drinking the grapes. So teenagers are not willing to confine their consumption of either marijuana or any other illicit substance or alcohol to you and your house. They are going to be doing it outside of the house. So stop lying to yourself and expecting your kid to do something that their brain isn't even developed enough to comply with. That's what people need to think about when it comes to this. All right, Stacy,
hey, Donisha, I see you in the chat. Hey, Donisha.
Any comments on this? Because it might be some parents who's sitting and smoking with their kid right now, and they might be upset with us. Is anybody upset with us?
At least you and I were on the same page today.
I know. And you know, the listeners like when we have a good fight, Stacy D. But I know.
But I can't get down with that because everybody knows I don't even do nothing. So I'm so anti. Get it away from me. I don't like it at all.
Right. We apologize for not giving a good fight today. But this, all joking aside, because Stacy D and I, we have fun on the show and we laugh and we joke. It's just our personalities. This actually is a serious matter because what I want parents to think about is, as a therapist, one of my specializations is adolescent treatment. No adolescent who I see in therapy is only smoking at home. They all end up telling me that they're doing it outside of the home. And when I see adults who come in for addiction problems, and when those who tell me they started at home with their parent, they're not presenting this as healthy, appropriate parenting. They are presenting it, blaming their parent for starting them on that path. And they themselves, regardless of their addiction, do not do this with their kids at home. They grow up and they reach a level of maturity where they realize that was not appropriate parenting. So that's something else you need to think about, is that your kids may love you for this now. They are going to criticize you for it later. That's our show for today.
It was a good one, JP.
Yes, I think it went really well. Thank you all for joining us today. If we see your comments after the show, we will still respond to your comments. But thanks for joining us. And remember, worry about nothing.
Pray about everything, and don't smoke with your kids.
Please don't smoke with your kids, people. We're out of here.
Bye-bye now.